President Xi's visit comes as Rwanda marks another milestone in its history. This month, it's been 24 years since the end of the genocide. At least 800,000 people were killed in around 100 days, an ethnic-based slaughter that stunned the world. Since then, Rwanda's story has been one of remarkable recovery and is testament to the resilience of its people. CGTN's Peninah Karibe has this report.
70 kilometers south of Kigali, we come across this sign. This is our destination, what's known in Rwanda as a model village because of its symbolism. Everyone here was affected by the 1994 genocide. John Giraneza was 14 when the killing began.
This place borders Burundi. There was a big forest in which people would hide and then cross over to Burundi. But the police and other perpetrators knew about it and started waylaying people so that they could kill them.
Giraneza's family was well known and the killers picked them out early. His father was killed along with his 10 wives. 27 of Giraneza's 37 brothers and sisters were murdered. Giraneza owes his life to the arrival of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the forces led by current President Paul Kagame, which ended the genocide in July 1994.
The RPF captured the area and found me unconscious. They took me to a military hospital. I was in a coma for 135 days and stayed in the hospital for 6 years.
Rebuilding his life took years, but then he heard of a housing project to resettle survivors.
The idea behind the villages of unity and reconciliation came from the choice of Rwanda after the genocide to be led by the principles of unity and reconciliation. Rwanda has chosen unity, and reconciliation is a strategy to achieve that unity.
So model villages like this one were built across the country, where survivors and perpetrators lived side by side. Alongside people's courts to dispense justice, there was a determined reconciliation drive. It was in one of these reconciliation meetings where Giraneza met the woman who would become his wife, even though her family had helped kill his.
The most difficult moment was when I told my family about the marriage proposal. My mom and sisters were against it. They told me he wanted to take revenge because my family killed his, but had seen John in the reconciliation meetings and how much he had changed. And I was sure for him it was not about revenge. So I accepted his proposal without my family's consent.
10 years down the line, the couple is an extraordinary example of the unity and reconciliation that's underpinned Rwanda's revival. 24 years after the genocide, focus has now shifted from rebuilding shattered lives to promoting growth and development. Economic empowerment while enhancing peaceful coexistence has now taken center stage.
Now we don't talk about the horrors we went through during the genocide. We discuss development projects that we can engage in.
You can see the results in the village: livestock, solar lighting, thriving livelihoods. John Giraneza is a peace ambassador, traveling to war-torn countries such as the Central African Republic and South Sudan, living proof that there is redemption in reconciliation, that the very worst of times can bring out the very best in people. Peninah Karibe, CGTN, in Bugesera, Rwanda.
Well, let's get you the very latest now on President Xi's visit to Rwanda. I'm joined from the capital, Kigali, by CGTN's Peninah Karibe. Peninah, what is the latest on President Xi's visit to Kigali? What's happening there right now?
Well, Karen, it's been a very busy day for the two leaders, President Paul Kagame and his visitor, President Xi Jinping. Like you mentioned earlier, there was an official welcoming ceremony for President Xi. After that, the two leaders went into some discussions. They signed what we understand were about 15 bilateral agreements that touch on various sectors, such as the infrastructure, tourism, construction of hospitals, and so forth. Now, we understand within this, the two leaders should be breaking off their busy day to go for lunch. After that, in the afternoon, President Xi Jinping will be paying the Kigali Genocide Memorial Center a visit to pay his respects for the victims of the 1994 genocide. And after that, at about 5 p.m. local time, President Xi Jinping is expected to go to South Africa. There will be a brief ceremony to bid him farewell, after which, of course, he departs for South Africa, Karen.
And Peninah, relations between China and Rwanda are at an all-time high. Can you tell us more about the extent of cooperation between the two countries?
Well, Karen, you've got to understand this country, Rwanda, established diplomatic ties with China that spanned back almost 50 years. So it's been a long-standing relationship. President Paul Kagame described President Xi's visit today as one that's meant to further deepen these relations. Now, you look around Kigali and you can actually see the benefits of this cooperation. We're talking about roads that have been constructed here in the capital and even in other crucial regions in the country that open up Rwanda to the rest of East Africa, just like you had, just like President Kagame was outlining earlier on this morning. And when we talk about cooperation, I guess the biggest support China has given Rwanda has been in terms of concessional loans, technical support in major projects, as well as scholarships for students in crucial sectors such as education, health, and even technology. As we speak, Karen, we understand about 1,300 Rwandese are residing in China, most of whom are students in institutions of higher learning. So this is a cooperation that has benefited greatly the people of Rwanda. And you know, we were just engaging some people here in Kigali, just ordinary citizens, and they were saying so far they've seen the benefits of this. Now, this visit by President Xi, of course, coming with very high expectations for them, because then they say they're expecting to see even more benefits in the years to come, Karen.
And Paul Kagame is not just the president of Rwanda, as we know. He's also the current chairperson of the African Union. Is President Xi also using this visit to further ties with the African Union, would you say?
Well, Karen, at the moment, we are not privy to the full scope of the discussions between these two leaders. So far, what's coming out is indicating perhaps to them discussing issues that are just between the two countries, Rwanda and China. But like you mentioned, I mean, one would obviously expect that this is something that's going to come up because Rwanda is the chair of the African Union. China is Africa's largest trading partner with various interests and projects and investments spread all across the continent. And of course, this is all happening at a time when the continent is grappling with numerous challenges such as terrorism, such as, of course, the migration crisis we are seeing. And of course, that one would expect these are issues that are going to come up in these two leaders' discussions. It's obviously in the best interest of the two partners that they come up with solutions to all of these challenges. So at the moment, Karen, still not yet fully furnished with all the details of the discussions between these two leaders. But of course, as the day wears on, we are going to understand better what it is these two leaders have discussed.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. That was CGTN's Peninah Karibe there in Kigali on the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Rwanda.